What's up guys, Jake with TTI Tactical. Come to another special video today. Got something good for you today. We are comparing the Canik rival with TTI Combat. Now, if you've been following the channel to any extent, you'll know that we have done reviews in the past of both the Canik rival as well as the TTI Combat. Both very similar handguns that both serve very, well, similar overlapping categories. Everyday carry, competition, and you could switch them out for vice versa if you want to. Both of these are kind of considered to be sort of like the premium Canik handguns out there right now, especially this one being like $900. And this one is the rival with the plastic frame. I know they came out with the metal frame layer, but this is the one I've got. $600-ish, you know, with the metal frame being closer to like the $900 price point this one's at. After having both of these for a little while now and shooting each one about 1,000 rounds, yes, we just got done shooting about 1,000 rounds with each of these now at this point. I kind of wanted to make a little bit of a comparison video for you guys to kind of give you some pros and cons of each one, things I've noticed that I like about each one. I thought it might be a good video to make for you guys to help you make a decision on which one might be right for you. Mozambique drill, just for funsies, see how she does. So I had 4 A's and one just outside. All right, now we're going to do the TTI Combat to see how we do as far as keeping stuff in the A zone. I'm shooting high with the TTI Combat. Now that might be kind of on me because I forgot that the TTI Combat's more like the tip, whereas the rival, you paint the target with the front side. So with that in mind, let's try one more time, and this time let's just try to do just the tip. Much better. Now, as you see there, all the shots pretty much grouped together. As you see, 4 shots were grouped together, and then one was a little bit strayed, but still in the A zone there. Just so you know, both of these are empty, clear, all that good stuff. I'm not going to go through all the specs of each of these. I'm just going to really point out the differences for you guys. And if you want to know more, you can go back and look at the other videos. So starting with just a tip for both of these, you're going to find that they both have very similar barrel lengths. In fact, if I line these up carefully, you'll find that with them lined up at the bottom there, this is about how much difference you're looking at. Now, obviously, this is from the underside. So if I go to the top here, you'll see obviously the TTI Combat is ported, whereas the rival is not, but you see the front sight there in the rival. I think you originally come with like a red or orange fiber optic for the rival. I put the green on there because I just like it. And of course the Canik TTI Combat comes with the green fiber optic. 2 little windows cut out for the fiber to take in a little bit more sunlight. In regards to the barrels, you'll see that they both have some kind of fluting. This one's got sort of like straight back edge fluting. And then the TTI Combat has sort of like that weird spiral fluting. The depth for each of these is about the same. I don't really think either one's going to really do much difference for you. Might help with the action cycling or something, but that's pretty much it. Moving further back on the slide here, you'll see that the slide cuts are a little bit sharper on the TTI Combat, whereas the rival, they're a little bit smoother. They're both pretty deep, but this one's a little bit more crisp, especially on that little ribbing right there. Window cuts here, obviously, on the TTI Combat. You've got a window cut here on the rival as well. This also has cut up top here, I guess to help with weight. This one's got a couple little windows right there for you as well. Very, very, very similar. Of course, they both have like Picatinny-like rails at the bottom there for you to put your lights, lasers, coffee makers, all that shit. Moving further back here, you're going to see lots of Terran Tactical logos on the TTI Combat, but on the rival here, less logos, except for the Canik rival SFX stuff here on the side. Both barrels have sort of like weird cut patterns to them. You'll see it's kind of like whatever. They both feature a little bit of stippling right here where your thumb or finger might be. This one's a little bit more aggressive, which we'll get into the texturing here on the main grip part here in just a second. You'll see your slide lock there on both sides, ambidextrous. This one, exactly the same, it's just black. And I think that might be plastic, whereas the TTI Combat might be metal, like an aluminum. Now going to your slide release here, you do have that Terran Tactical designed etching right there. Very deep, very sharp. Whereas the rival, you just have that little ledge to push down with your thumb or finger. Of course, these are going to be also ambidextrous as well, as you see there. There's some slight differences on the mag release. You'll see here on the TTI Combat. As you can see there, it's got a little bit of diamond texture on the mag release. This one has not really got any texturing to it. Now I do have the longer, bigger boy mag release, so it sticks a little bit more. Of course, the rival comes with multiple ones. The TTI Combat, well, this is it. The triggers are very similar. This is the TTI Combat diamond cut. If I can get the focus here, there is the rival. Both triggers are very similar to one another. So now I'm gonna mag dump both guns just to kind of see how easy it is to do follow-up shots. You know, it's not really practical, but it's really just to see like how easy is it to do rapid follow-up shots, you know, with the follow through and the wall and the trigger pull, all that stuff, if you have the mag dump, I'm saying. So the recoil on the rival was very manageable with mag dumping. Let's do the TTI Combat. All right, so based on what I'm feeling right now, between the rival and the TTI Combat, the trigger is just a little bit better on that rival. It just feels a little bit better, like it's just got a slight edge on the TTI Combat. Both triggers are very good, but as you just saw with that footage there, it felt a little bit smoother doing rapid follow-up shots with the rival than it did with the TTI Combat. Now, are you going to be mag dumping, whether it's competition or self-defense? No, probably not. But, I mean, there are times, especially in competition, where you have to do 2 to the chest, 1 to the head, or, well, I guess for that matter, everyday carry as well. And it's good to know, like, how consistent are you going to be? I pulled each trigger about the same, but as you saw, sometimes I didn't quite reset enough or do enough pull for that TTI Combat to follow through for me. Some people might say we're splitting hairs here, but I mean, really, these are the fine, minute details that you may want to consider when choosing between these two. Moving down here below the trigger, the actual trigger guard, you'll see you've got these little notches here, and it kind of thins out right here, and then it's got a little bit of a cutting right here. Same exact thing with the rival, exactly the same. Now the next big change is going to be the actual texturing. This is the texturing on the rival. You've got this back strap here. It's got these little pokey boys right up here for you, as you see, and you've got your same texturing back there. It's pretty decent, pretty good. Could be rougher, of course, and if you like it rougher, well, then the TTI Combat is going to be the one for you. This is a lot more grittier, as you can see there. A lot more rough texture, and back here on the back straps you get with the Canik TTI Combat, it's really rough, and I like it rough. Moving further down, the mag wells. They both use the same exact aluminum mag wells, same flared out kind of nature and everything about them. Exactly the same, just different colors. As far as the size of the grip goes, well, I mean, again, it's exactly the same. Now I'm trying to line up as good as I can. So this one may look like it's got a different grip angle, the rival, than the TTI Combat, but the grip angles are actually exactly the same. Let me show you here. You'll see that the grip angles, they're exactly the same. They're exactly the same. And if it looks different, it's because I'm not quite holding it exactly the same for each one. But I promise they're exactly the same. Now, both these handguns actually come with red dot cuts here for you and plates so you can mount different red dots. However, only one of them lets you keep your rear sight, and that is going to be the TTI Combat. When you remove this plate here on the TTI Combat, your rear sight actually will stay there for you. Whereas the rival, unfortunately, it's a little bit of an older design, slightly older. When you remove this plate, your rear sight actually goes with you, which I think is a terrible design decision. In fact, if I zoom in there, you can see the rear sight there is attached to the back of that plate, as you see there, where it attaches and all that. In fact, this whole thing is the rear sight. Whereas with the TTI Combat, you can clearly see the rear sight is not attached to the plate itself. Now, one thing I want to point out is that the magazines for the rival and the TTI Combat are actually interchangeable. So Canik rival, TTI mag, fits in nicely there, falls out nicely as well. And the TTI Combat with the rival mag there also fits in very nicely. Yeah, you get the idea. All right, so for our next test, I'm gonna actually shoot the rubber target again. I'm gonna put 5 shots with each handgun into the rubber target. And then we're gonna compare and see where the point of impact is and the spread and all that stuff. First at the Canik rival, I'm gonna shoot the top left corner of the A zone as accurately as possible. So I'm gonna take my time with it and see how she does. We are using Fiocchi 115 grain in both guns, and the distance is just under 11 yards. Canik rival, top left corner. Here we go. And now from the same spot, TTI Combat. Okay, interesting results. All right, so I find this fascinating. I think you will too. On the left here, we had the Rival. On the right, we had the TTI Combat. Now look closely. There's 5 shots. 1, 2, well, multiple right there. 3 or 4, 5. On the right here, the TTI Combat. Now, as far as shooting experience goes, they are both very similar in the way they feel and the trigger pull and all that stuff. However, I'm just telling you from my experience, with my sample size of 1 handgun each that I bought with my own money, of course, the TTI Combat has a slight bit of more follow through with the trigger pull past the wall than the Rival. I felt like the Rival is a little bit easier to make follow-up shots versus the Combat. If I was trying to mag dump or do kind of like quick follow-up shots, I felt like the TTI Combat for the most part was good, but there were some times where I get kind of hung up where I wasn't quite releasing the trigger enough or pulling enough. You know, like the Rival overall just felt a little bit smoother. And again, both these have about the same amount of rounds through them, and they're both about as equally dirty too. Of course, now other people with their TTI Combat, I've seen some people have some bad luck and it won't even cycle for them. Other than that, pretty much everything else on each of these handguns is the same. And with them being about the same size and length and grip and all that stuff, which one do I think you should go with? Well, I think it's kind of obvious at this point. I think if you want something for a little bit of a better price that has the same performance, you want to go with the Rival. That being said, if you want something with a few extra bells and whistles and plus has that Terran Tactical branding, I would say go with the TTI Combat. In my opinion, I don't think the TTI Combat is quite as accurate as the Rival, and that just comes naturally due to the slightly longer barrel, but it's a little bit more well-rounded. You know, it does have the extra bells and whistles. It's got the extra spring. It's got the extra little bits and the challenge coin and all that stuff, but it also comes for a little bit of a higher price. If you don't really have any other Canik handguns and this is maybe like your first one that you're picking up, then in that case, I would say the TTI Combat is the best choice. So guys, I know it's a little bit back and forth with this video, but I mean, I really want to kind of just show you all the different features of each one to kind of help you make a decision on which one you may want to purchase. Again, I bought each of these with my own money, and honestly, I don't have any affiliation with Canik, the company themselves at all. I just think they make really good quality handguns, and I think over the years they've really come out with some really good hits, including these. I like this one a little bit more for competition, but I like this one a little bit more for kind of like all-around everyday carry self-defense stuff. Again, not that you can't use this for all around everyday carry self-defense stuff either. That's really all there is to it. Guys, that's going to wrap it up today. Remember, if you enjoy this kind of content, make sure to like, subscribe, comment down below. Which of these do you think is the better handgun? I'd love to hear from you. We will see you next time. And just for funsies, since I've got my rubber target out here, we'll do a little bit of Mozambique drill as well. Just to see how she does, of course. Oh God, that's got thorns. Dang, just got stuck by this thorn bush right here.